one live.
Farts. Old farts. Two old farts. Steve and Dave. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. Not this time, though. This is just rough. Two old farts. There is no better waste of time. Two guys. Two old guys. A lot of BS and more drivel than you can shake a stick at. Steve and Dave. God help us.
You know, that intro, every time I see it, brings a tear to my eye. It does, because I know what we paid for it. Today, I'm very excited. We have he's a friend of mine. I also sit, full disclosure, on the board of the company we're going to talk about, but it does social impact. It has a social impact arm that basically gives you money. It's not that, it's more complicated than that. I know. So, and I think they just took pity on me. They're like, yeah, we'll bring a Jew in. And I think that was why they did it. I think there's like, we need a Jew. Because everybody needs a Jew.
Yeah, they probably thought you knew something about money, Steve. That's what it
Well,
was.
because we control it all. I read that in all the books. So I think that's why. So, but before we bring him in, I think what we should do is, so people that are listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube will get an idea of what we're going to be talking about today, so they can be as informed as it is, instead of three of us droning on. Let's show their little promo video clip, and then we'll bring him in, and then we can start asking questions and talk about it. And he'll be able to tell everybody all about Zero and the company and what it does.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is the first for me to pull all the levers and ring all the bells today. So I hope it's all going to work as I planned it.
Let's find out. And if it doesn't, then there'll be no video, and we'll bring them right in. So let's see.
Indeed. And we also have a small slide presentation as well.
Yes,
so
we do.
When we're going to bring that in. But
no
it's a promo film that they very kindly sent to me. So which means that you and I will disappear and the promo will begin. So
there you go.
How is the current cost of living crisis affecting you? Perhaps you are one of the many thousands of Manx people struggling with unmanageable debt. You rely on your local food bank, and you have already contacted the Citizens Advice Bureau and Salvation Army for financial advice. Where else to turn for help? On the other hand, perhaps you have money to spare and yearn to help your Manx neighbours, just as the Manx Solidarity Fund and Manx Benevolent Fund did during the COVID crisis. How best to offer your help now? Well, I want to tell you about Ergid.im, a groundbreaking new financial enterprise which could be exactly the answer you have been looking for. Alongside financial education and budgeting tools, Ergid.im offers interest-free loans to financially disadvantaged and vulnerable people. Yes, that's right, interest-free, with a commercial return offered to both investors and lenders too. We take the best of peer-to-peer lending and cashback models in order to lend without interest, fees or charges. Think Klarna or Zilch meets Top Cashback meets the bank of mum and dad, or peer-to-peer lending. We lend sums from £50 to £1,000 over a period of 1 to 52 weeks, charge no interest, levy no fees or charges, and require no guarantor. Working through referrals from schools, places of worship, credit unions, the CAB, etc. We do not offer cash loans. Instead, we pay for goods, services, or household repairs directly. So here's how it works. Borrowers pay nothing extra for goods or services. Retailers and partners give us profit share or referral fees. Take a £300 washing machine, for instance. We will pay £270 directly to the store or the manufacturer. The other £30 pays our running costs. The capital to lend out comes from those altruistic people with money to spare. They put their money up to help others with the added possibility of a return through profit share, like a mutual. Our investors can expect a return for dividends once the Interest-Free Loans Company Limited is profitable. Of course, we cannot lend to everyone, hence lending is targeted. Plus, we do a full risk analysis on each borrower, only lending where it is truly affordable. If a customer is desperate, we have a sister community interest company which can offer emergency grants of up to £50. With designated business status from the FSA and registered moneylender status from the OFT, we are running a regulated pilot on the Isle of Man through the Interest Free Loans Company Limited, a Manx registered business. We plan to register with the FCA in 2023 to offer loans in the UK. Right now, we are seeking potential Manx retail partners, Manx investors, and Manx lenders. You may have already heard our current radio adverts or interviews on Energy FM and Manx Radio perhaps, or have seen coverage in the Courier or IOM today. If not, please use the QR codes to catch up with us. To find out more, please email inquiries@ergid.im or call 01234 676 232.
And there you go. So now we're going to bring Saqhib in, and he can talk about his company and how he started it and what the thought was. And just full disclosure, once again, I do sit on the board. The other full disclosure is this is not for you people listening to make an investment. If you want to, that's fine. That's a whole nother thing you could deal with your financial advisors and lawyers and the FCA over in the UK. This is a UK-based program. This is nothing. It's just something we think is interesting. It's something probably be started in the United States and other places. So we'll bring our pioneer in and let him go from there. And then that's it. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So tell us, the video told everything.
Fascinating. Yeah, absolutely fascinating.
So let me tell you how it started, where we're going and where we like to be in the future. So ZEROPA, how did it start? It actually started back in 2015-16 as a concept called Lending Hand. And the idea was, how can you help people? There's so many millions around the world that they have no access to banking, they're unbanked, underbanked, and interest is just literally killing them. And it's no joke, in the current cost of living crisis, people are making a choice between heating and eating. And so I thought there has to be a better way. So I came upon this crazy idea, which, 300 years of banking has told me otherwise. But I thought, let's take away the interest. Let's lend money to people without charging interest. And then I thought, well, hang on, all that's going to happen is people are going to come for £1,000, take the money and run. So I thought, well, okay, how do we have revenue? How do we have capital? How do we actually make this thing work? So we thought we'd then give goods and services. So 2015-16, thought up the idea. 2021, came across this great guy called Steven Seagal and decided to bring him on board. And we then decided, how are we going to make this thing work? So we've got a board, we've got a pilot called ergid.im through the Interest Free Loans Company in the Isle of Man. We've been going for 3 months and we give goods and services to people. So whether it is, a fridge freezer, a cooker, whether it's money towards food, and this is how we're helping them, just as the video showed. So I'd love to tell you more about it and, what we plan to do next.
So let me ask you this. So in the Island of Man on the pilot program, how much have we given to people who actually need, and when you think Island of Man, you just think everybody has money there, but how much have we given out, or how many, if you will, refrigerators have we bought or groceries have we bought? Do we have numbers on that to say, this is what we've done?
Yeah. So obviously, because I don't want the whole world knowing my, the full metrics, then if I suffice to say that literally in 1 month, we've done 3 months of applications. So that is the demand. So basically, it's outstripping what we'd planned. We'd planned for 15K. We've already had more than 30K of applications come forwards. And we've had more applications than we'd expected in that short time frame. We had a radio advert that went out. We had newspaper coverage. We had the radio coverage. You've had the QR codes in the video. And we were actually in a global fintech newsletter last week as well that got further coverage of what we're trying to do. And as you said, we don't want to just stop at the UK. We want to expand further afield.
So once the Island of Man test is successful, then we're going into, if you will, UK proper, the big piece of land right there, where the Queen used to live. She has a house. So, and then I know we're talking with the FCA and everybody to make sure that we're compliant. So when do we think that happens, where either A, people in UK proper can say, hey, I want to get a loan, or B, where people can be like, you know what, this is very cool. I want to be part of something good. And, if you will, lack of a better term, make an investment in the company to help people that are less privileged than they are.
So as you said, in terms of investors, lenders, people after they've sought financial advice,
right.
Then they can come on board with the Isle of Man right now.
Okay.
And that's under a FSA and OFT regulation. For the FCA in the UK, then we aim to do that in 2023. The process could take 6 to 18 months, but we hope to be regulated in the UK in 2023.
Very cool. So hopefully by the end of the year. So right now, if people want to help, they'd be helping just in the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man. Okay, very cool. Very nice.
So the Isle of Man has a different financial structure. Is that the reason why you chose it to do the pilot there?
Yeah, I mean, it has a very robust. It has a very robust legal jurisdiction, independent of the UK, but many rules and regulations are very similar. So rather than trying to just set up in the UK, going full big bang out to 70 million people, we thought if you target the Isle of Man, we have to go through similar rules and regulations and have a regulatory regime, and we'll be targeting 90,000 people rather than 70 million, and then trial it there, grow it there, and then bring it to the UK.
Yeah. Is your idea then you'll have a UK-based license? Are you going to is your idea to do that, and are you going to passport that out if you move into Europe, or?
I would like to go into Europe, obviously post Brexit, that wonderful decision we made in 2016. Then
don't start me on that one.
I'm not quite sure what I'll have to do in each of the European countries, but near time, I'd like to be able to perhaps expand to Ireland, Belgium, France, Germany, and then go further afield. Obviously, the reason why we've got Stephen on board is that we would like to expand to the US.
I think it's fascinating. It's because if you're a company, you're like in the US, I guess have Walmart there too, but if you're like a Walmart, you can literally say, okay, we'll give you X. So people can buy, whether it's a washer dryer, whether it's refrigerator, groceries, whatever, and they can discount it out. So where the company makes a few shekels, but the people they're helping actually get help. So, and I think I like the concept of it. When we first spoke a few years ago, I liked it because no interest, it helps people that really need help, and you really can't scam the system because they really do make sure that you really need help. So like, you just can't submit an application and go, I need a Maserati. And they're like, sure, we'll give you the money. It's sort of like, we're giving you the money because you really need the money. We're giving you, if you will, the voucher or the card to do it. So I think as this program expands, not only in the UK, but on a global basis, I think a lot of the retailers will get involved, because I think for them, there's a benefit. Because they all talk a good game, but they don't really do anything. Now they actually can do something.
And ultimately, that this is all incremental revenue. If we go to the heart of it, it's incremental revenue for all of the retailers, because these customers wouldn't be able to come to them. They'd be, asking family and friends, going on Facebook, other social media platforms are available. But they would be trying to get items that might not be new, they might not be fit for purpose. Whereas now they can hold their head high. They can have a new appliance. They can get the food they need. They can pay the utility bill, and it's all without interest. No interest, no fees, no charges. It does what it says on the tin: ZEROPA, 0 per annum.
Yeah. Right. And once again, this is in the UK and the United Kingdom, everybody. So if you're in the United States listening and you want to do something, you can reach out. If you think it's a fascinating concept and you still want to do something, you can reach out. If you want to do your own concept, that's cool. But this is not for investment. It's not for anything. This show is for informational purposes only. So I don't want to see 10,000 comments about ridiculous crap. So this is just so people understand what somebody's trying to do, being a real ESG company that, most people say they're ESG, bull. These guys really are. And the fact that they're trying to do social impact, is also very important. So we thought it would be good to bring to our audience. So that's my last full disclosure. Now talk among yourselves.
There are big issues in the UK in general with loan sharking. Certainly in lots of published areas, everybody you had a few organisations that you were talking about as well, Salvation Army, Citizens Advice Bureau, all been banging that same drum, trying to keep people away from the loan sharking. But would I physically go to just the nuts and bolts of it? If I get approved, do I actually get a coupon? Because that in itself could be fraudulent, or is it? Would I have that on my on a smartphone, for instance, and use it that way?
So at the moment, what we're doing is we're paying retailers directly. So you would tell us what you need, and then we contact the retailer directly. The aim as we develop our tech is that it would connect to the retailer directly through an API.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's just not, if you scale up, that's just not. There's not enough people on the planet to work in your service department to do that, is it? So,
yeah, we'll have 17 million customers and 17 million people processing it.
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay, so cool. the retailer would have an API, but again, I still have to validate myself when I went to pay my my electricity bill or to buy that freezer. So how does that work now then?
So currently we've got a live website, and we've also got an Android and iOS app that is in beta phase. What a customer can do is they fill out their income and expenditure, they fill out their details about themselves, they load up their proof of ID, where they live, and a referral letter. And as you mentioned right at the beginning, the referral letter is really key, because you want to target those people that really need help. So that's how we validate that they are in need. We then do a full income and expenditure analysis compared to their bank statements and their pay slips, because again, something that we all perhaps have been guilty of at some point is we might say we slightly earn a little more than we earn, and we don't have as many bills as we have because we're desperate to get that loan. And we've found that that's actually happened with many of the customers that we've been speaking to, because otherwise, on the face of it, they don't need any money. But the really great thing, which was mentioned in the video, is those customers that can't afford a loan, we have a community interest company. It's a special thing in the UK, kind of like a charity, but we give grants of up to £50 to those customers that a loan is just not right for them, but it'll still help them get their food shop for that evening.
Yeah. But again, I'm just thinking, it's it's going to be difficult, isn't it? Because would you rather have because when you have to do your due diligence when people come in for the loan, ideally you'd want that to be done through the referral company, that they would have it all to pass that straight over to you, as opposed to you having to do it, because that's another layer of administration. Which is going to eat into your bottom line.
Yeah, the intention is to automate all of this as far as we can. So using the word referral, some partners are uneasy that they prefer to be seen as signposting, because they can't be seen to be introducing somebody to take out credit.
Yeah, but places like Citizens Advice Bureau are quite open in the way that they indicate where it's a good or a bad place to go, because you can't, on the other side, you can't bang that proverbial drum saying loan sharks are a big issue. Everybody's got to crack down on it. The government's got to do something, or the local government's got to do something, and then say, oh, we can't refer you to anything. So
we have on the Isle of Man, we've actually got partnerships now with the Citizens Advice Bureau and the credit union, so that they will say, look, there is this alternative credit provider. They don't charge any interest. You make your own due diligence if you want to go ahead with them. But legally in the UK, for example, you can charge up to 1,000% APR. So that's without even the backstreet lenders. So you borrow £100 and you pay back £200 after 4 weeks. I mean, that's just shocking.
Well, I will tell you that we had a company in Monte Carlo years ago, and of course it was in Monte Carlo that did those payday loans. We did other things when we got there, and they were telling us how payday loans worked. And this guy says, someone comes in and asks for 100 pounds. I'm like, oh, okay. And so we make like, get $20, we make a day. He goes, oh no, like 100 pounds is like $500. By the time we're done, it's 500 or 600 pounds because they miss a payment. It's this, it's that. I'm like, oh, legal loan sharking. And then I remember then that was probably 2016 or 2015. Then the FCBA was like, enough. Or the FCA was like, you can't do this anymore. Banks wouldn't take them anymore. I was like, well, that's good because it's like they still do it. It's still there. They just do it under another form, which is, and they have it over here too. But I know over here, like people will say, I got $300 and I paid back 6,000. It's ridiculous. And, but the laws aren't in place to protect the consumer, which is unbelievable that they let people actually get away with it.
We're having the same issue in the UK at the moment because it's very fashionable to have live now, pay later. What my dear mother used to say, to buy it on the knock, as it was, because in those days people used to come along and literally knock on your door and ask you to make your payments. I'm not going to mention the names, but you can purchase on virtually every clothing website or electronic website where you have your payments. It looks as if it doesn't cost you anything, but the payments you can spread out over X number of weeks.
Well,
and
in the
there's been
United
a
States,
huge amount of people who jumped into that, but their annual interest rate is 28%. I mean, whoa.
Yeah, but in the United States, we have companies that do that, and I'm talking banks now. I've all gotten into the, you buy something on whatever website, and they'll be like, "Oh, don't want to pay it all at once." Spread your payments out, and they'll be like, "No interest," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're not doing this to be like, for free." And then if you start reading the fine print, like, if you miss something by a second, all of a sudden the interest rate then is like we're taking your third child or something. Yeah, so it's a little.
Or your kidney.
Or your kidney, which is okay. You don't need it. But this is, I like the concept. And like I said, when we first spoke about it, I was like, this is a great concept. And if we get it down pat in the UK, I think taking it then globally, or, where you can control it and people don't get scammed, so to speak, I think it'll be perfect. And I think and especially him, he's on the right track. Because I remember when we discussed going to the Isle of Man, everyone was very excited and we made it to the Isle of Man, and now we're actually doing everything that we said. So at some point, though, the people that have so much money they don't know what to do with, hopefully they're like, hey, I want to loan to somebody, or I want to help. And companies that want to, that preach they do ESG, and we really help people that don't do squat. This is a nice way for them to actually do something and still not really doing anything, but at least, making some sort of an effort. So,
and as I think you mentioned in the US, that they actually get tax breaks to put money towards companies like us.
I think so, yes. And our laws here change daily. So, with the tax and the president and whoever's in charge this week. So, yes, but yeah,
I think your president always lasts longer than our prime minister.
Yeah, well, yes, Biden's lasting longer than the what's her name that was there for 47 days. Yeah, she was there for 40 days. Yeah, that was awesome. That was good to see. And now you got a guy who looks like he's going to be there for a while. So we'll see. So,
but because I think Dave, did you say you were going to potentially share that other deck that I can?
Yes, we're going to do that as well. We have a slideshow as well, which I'd love to get up. I'm not. I hope you don't, misinterpret my questions towards you. When I read it, I'm actually thrilled, absolutely thrilled, because I believe 100% in this. I hadn't seen it. Stephen, mentioned it. I only looked at it this morning, but this pushes every liberal button that I have, and I really, really hope that this is successful. And because in Europe we have just as many problems as in the UK. So, and we have Sharia banks as well, but they're not really doing as much as they should be doing to help people at the bottom end. So this would be a great way forward. But we have some slides, so we'll get this one up.
Here we go.
So I don't know if you'd like to run through that with us, if you would.
Yeah, I will do. So as Stephen mentioned, everyone says they're fintech. It's a sexy thing, but we're saying we're disrupting fintech and we're social impact at the same time. And the bit that I didn't mention early on, which I really should have, financial literacy, unfortunately, is very low across the whole population. but especially out of those that are disadvantaged and vulnerable. And I think that's why the loan sharks take advantage of people, and then the legal loan sharks take advantage of them because they don't understand the APR, they don't understand how the money's working, they're unable to budget. So what we've believed is really important is financial education and tools. So how through open banking, linking your bank account, seeing what you're going to be spending this month is just as important as getting that £50 check tonight. And then the commercial return to lenders and investors. I think what is key is we need people that have disposable income to come on board, but we want to give them something back. So whether they're an investor or a lender, then I think that's really important. And this image on the right-hand side, I mean, this was a real scenario of somebody I helped personally a few years back. She had £200 left over for food, utility, and clothing. And she had a 16-year-old and a 2-year-old. And she said, you know, do I pay my heating or do I feed my kids? And what she also said, which was really sad, was some evenings I have to make the decision, do I have the full-size meal or do I give it to my 16-year-old and I don't eat that evening? I mean, this is, what are we, the 5th or 6th global economy in the UK? And that's just, you know, atrocious, appalling. So I was driven even more that I had to do something about it.
Yeah, heat or heater. There's the problem. Certainly this last winter, and you know, I was sometimes ashamed to say I'm a British passport holder because you know we're just going back towards Dickens Britain. You know, well, that's just me. Move on to the next slide for you, shall we?
Yeah, yes, please. And then you know, I was a school teacher for a couple of years, and when I heard this, that 1 in 5 of those children that you're trying to teach, you're wondering why they're being disruptive, why they were perhaps snacking in the lesson if they had anything to snack on. You know, 1 in 5 go to school hungry. There were 10 million residents pre-COVID that were in perpetual debt. So this is non-mortgage debt, and that increased to 17 million. 7 million people were forced into debt during COVID, borrowing from family and friends. And this is £50 billion. So in terms of the size of what we want to grow towards, you know, ZEROPA, it'd be brilliant if we could lend the £50 billion. We're being a bit more realistic that we are going to go for something that is a reasonable number. And I believe I show that on one of my future slides. If not, I'll mention it in a moment. But, you know, that shows just how big the problem is. 1 in 5 go to school hungry, 17 million people and £50 billion in non-mortgage debt. So we did our trial and launched in the Isle of Man, as we mentioned. So there's 90,000 residents. There are 40,000 people in work. Whilst everyone believes it's an island just full of millionaires and billionaires, there are actually 10,000 people that are on benefits of one form or another. And in terms of the stats of how we did in our first period, we had 673 unique visitors to our website. That turned into 30 applications, and that would have been of the order of about £30,000. And through a TikTok video that we did, which I have to claim I haven't done Wednesday dance yet on TikTok, but out of the advert for Argid, we actually got 18,000 views on quite a small budget. So it shows there is a massive interest out there of what we're about, and it would just take £60,000 to fund our pilot on the Isle of Man. And so you can see how we would use that. So 15,000 was the loan pool and 45,000 was to cover the cost of our loans officer on the island. However, as I said, you know, just in that first month, we doubled that figure of applications in terms of value. So our ask really, I guess, for anyone that wants to decide to investigate further is that, will you help these 17 million? And that's only in the UK. Imagine what that number is across the planet, you know, whether it's the US, whether it's Germany, whether it's France, you know, and our year 5 projections are that we would have helped 304,000 customers out of those 17 million. We would have offered 26 million in loans. And if you assume a 50% interest rate, that would have saved customers £13 million. And you're thinking, how the hell is this final number possible? We believe we can make 3 million profit out of it as well. So that's 3 million returned to investors, to lenders, and creating a risk pool and reinvestment to grow further.
Wow.
Is that the last video I did?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah.
And then once again, full disclosure, if you have an interest in this, as someone who needs to put in an application because you need money and you're not on the island of man right now, you're SOL, so we apologize. If you're someone who thinks you would like to be involved with them, please consult your lawyers, your accountants, your financial advisors, and everybody else. And then feel free to reach out directly, or if you need contact information, you can always reach us here at the show at Two Old Farts, and we can help you out and put you in touch with people and get you from A to Z, so to speak. So so the Island of Man is doing well. UK. So what's the next 90 days look like for ZEROPA?
Yeah. So next 90 days, I've been tasked by the board to identify what we need to do, steps for the FCA, get that application in, and to also report back on what the customer base was like in the Isle of Man. So something that we actually found, and I think is a reflection of how savvy the Isle of Man customers are. The Isle of Man customers that applied versus the UK customers that came onto the Isle of Man website, they asked for double the money for as long as possible. And I think it was the appeal of that interest-free loan. So as we're saying, it's going to be really key that we identify those people really in need, continue to develop our retail partnerships. I've got 2 retail partnerships that hopefully I'll be able to come back to you guys to say once they're signed, sealed and delivered, but they are really big. One of them is the biggest white goods manufacturer, I believe, in the US. So hopefully they will be on board shortly. And, we have to have that investment on board, because without those investors and lenders, we can't help those borrowers. And as I'm saying, there's 17 million of them just in the UK.
And so once again, so anybody listening and wants to help, feel free to reach out, consult all your legal and financial people, and we'll go from there. And that's really it. My friend, it's good to see you. I guess I'll see you at the next board meeting. So thank you for spending some time with us. Stay with us after the credits. David likes to do his little housekeeping. And then that will be it. It was good to see you. Once again, thank you for listening, everybody. If you know somebody that's in need, that's in the Island of Man, please forward this. If you know somebody that may have interest in this, please forward this, subscribe and like to the channel. Leave your comments below. If you have a nasty thing to say, we don't really want to hear it. And then that's it. And David's very proud of this, by the way, this ending. He spent hours on it. And the guitar solo here, this is all him. And now he does his ventriloquist act, which we're very proud of as well. See you guys all next time.
Well, sadly, this is the end of today's show. A really big thank you to everyone who contributed today to the show. And of course, thank you to my co-host, Stephen Oldfart. I'm David Oldfart. Don't forget, subscribe to the show and get all the latest updates from Two Old Farts Making Noises.